Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pillar to Post. I am Rashaun Alleyne, and I'm joined as always by Kobia Hamblin. And together we are going to be previewing the Crop Over Festival slash the Midsummer Classic Race Day. It's going to feature the Grade One, the rescheduling of the Grade One Midsummer Creole Classic. It's a nine race card. And Kobia, I think this is probably the best card assembled for the year so far. There's something for everyone, race one through nine.
Hey, Rashaun, and hi, everyone. And Rashaun, I am so glad I can say this without any hesitation or second doubts. This is a race card with nine races, and I mean nine quality races. Nine races that it took me quite a time to handicap, and I'm so glad I can say that.
Yeah, so we're just going to jump right into it. Race number one is the Junior Kaduma Condition Race that goes 1,570 meters for 3-year-old non-winners of two. And we're not going to try to get clever here. This race runs through Bossy Lady and her after her impressive maiden win last time out.
Yeah, when I looked at her maiden win last race, maybe you can say it was because of conditions, but I still think she was miles, leaps and bounds ahead of the others. And coming back into a race like this, going 7.8 with maybe horses that you can look at with more of a strong sprinter's base, for example, Venom and Twinkle Toes, I think this is an open and shut situation of Bossy Lady and whoever else after.
Yeah, this race, obviously, there was a lot of rain on the day. And with her pedigree being by John Bryan, you would think she would relish it more than others. But I think she would have been best in this race, regardless of the conditions. An electrifying turn of foot, if you can see her under Jarrell Beckles. And she's the only one to have won at this trip. Then we have Venom underneath, both of us, who's, I think, the better of the other two winners in the field. Obviously, the question mark is how good will he be stretching out? But really and truly, Bossy Lady coming back here on a predicted firm turf, smaller field, having been the only one to win at 1570, as you said, it might be open and shut here with her. Then it's just to figure out if you think Venom is going to stretch out or Twinkle Toes, and if not, maybe Sparrow, who is the full sister to Triple Crown winner Hurricane, making her debut. But they're really going to have to run to beat Bossy Lady.
Yeah, and you made a very key point in a predicted firm trap on Saturday. We just just like last race, we don't know what's going to happen, and that completely throw our bets off the radar. But with the trap being firm Saturday, and I'm speaking of our second choice, I think Venom is the best of the rest. Maybe if you go with Sparrow based on pedigree, but I think it's hard to look against Venom or to go with a first time starter over a horse that has won before, despite it being only 5.5 furlongs.
Yeah, so we'll see. But we agree here to open the card. Bossy Lady, maybe Venom for the upset. But it's going to be an interesting one to start the card for the non-winners of two. Then race number two, it's the Grand Kaduma Handicap. This one goes 9 furlongs for the 60s and lower. This is kind of a resetting of last time behind Legendary when they went 1570. You're going to go way on the outside with Binary Code.
Yeah, as much as I go on the outside, they're starting basically in a flat line. So I don't think drawing wide in this situation is any kind of drawback whatsoever. I still think the best recipe with binary code is to fly up front, let them catch you. 128 pounds is a lot, but let's
Yeah.
consider it. Majority of the field also has close to the same weight.
But that
By
is my concern with him, not to cross you, but I think that is the big issue with binary code here. Because if Delicia's Angel with this claim goes with him, this is a horse that's won with 122, 118. So I think 128 might be big. And that's why I don't have him anywhere. So you're not afraid of the weight. But I think the weight is definitely a little bit more of a concern.
Yeah, they say weight stops a train, but at the same time, where has Delicious Angel been for the last 91 days? I don't know where she stands. And there's some races that she does show good speed, and other races she's absolutely missing. So I think if this one is able to get loose on the lead, he is going to take a lot to catch back. On my second line, I went with Heidi Marie, and to round out the top, to round out my three, my trifecta comes Mandarin Oriental. These two have always been knocking at the door at this distance with this class. My issue is a bit of consistency. Heidi Marie was missing for quite a while, and all of a sudden, she doesn't know how to run any lower than third. Mandarin Oriental is always there late in the race, and I think he has a strong pace to run onto. But as usual, I think he's not going to be the strongest at the finish.
Yeah, and the race you showed, just to go back quickly, Binary Code did outrun Delicious Angel, so maybe he could do that here. But again, I'm not really confident in the weight. But we'll wait and see. I'll take number one, Magnific, who finished second behind Legendary, had every chance to win last time out, and prior to that broke her maiden at 9 furlongs. So we'll like the trip. Also, I think this is just a horse in recent with two fourths, a second, and a win in her last four starts that I can trust a little bit more, as she will be on the closer to the pace than the others. As you see her sitting behind Legendary. This is a race that was dominated on the front end. She took 126 on this day. Now she's going to take 124. Heidi Marie, who I have on my second line, took 117. Will now have 115 after the claim of seven from Mohammed. And then Mandarin Oriental. This is a horse that this is the one who I actually have on my second line. I wanted him a little higher, but he's just, as I said, with Magnific, I can trust her, but I can't trust him. But if you watch this race behind Legendary, as I said, it was dominated on the front end, and Mandarin Oriental came from so far behind and so wide to come so close. But again, can't trust him for the top spot. So I will put Magnific, Mandarin Oriental, and Heidi Marie. The horse that I feared is Kite, who everyone's coming down in weight, and Kite is going up. He's going up 5 pounds. So that's one that I want to watch with Bishop getting on, but I think Magnific is the horse to beat here.
Understood, Rashaun. We're going to mosey our way onto race number 3, the Party Monarch Handicap, 9 furlongs for 3-year-olds and older, rated 50 and below. Rashaun, when I look at this field, what stands out to me is the 3-year-olds. Now, there are only a handful, but Cotton Reel specifically, I figured this one is looking for a bit more points to get into the Derby. You know, some horses are coming out, so some are going to be able to pay the penalty and go in. And I think Cotton Reel is one who's going to relish the longer distance. Now, excuse me. Now, Faster Cash has been there, and I mean knocking at the door consistently, but similarly to what you would have said for some horses earlier, it's hard for me to put my trust in this one. And Cotton Reel is where I stand on race number 3.
Yeah, on Carter Real, this is a horse I have fourth. Obviously, his starts prior, he's been showing really good form, notably two thirds and a fourth, drawing a line through the last race. But he pulled up in his last start and then went away for 77 days. So maybe there was an issue that now they have rectified. Again, talking about trust, this is not a horse that I can trust given that he pulled up in his last start.
Well, I do understand that. I don't know what would have been the reason for pulling up. The horse didn't seem quite interested. But in this replay that I'm showing above, this horse absolutely blew the top turn. I was still able to run back on at eventual winner. Copper shot, was it? I'm sorry. Undeniable.
Undeniable. Yeah, you're good.
Undeniable. My mistake. Andrew Nunes has so many. Was still able to run back at Undeniable, who I like going longer distances, as well as Barnabas, who's also in the Midsummer. And it's hard for me to see Cotton Reel running at the two of these, who stand pretty okay chances at Saturday's Midsummer, and not think that this one has a shot at least running the first two.
No, I have to agree. The good Cotton Reel is definitely a player here. I'm going to go with a horse that in her last 8 starts, she's made money. She's been on the board, and that's number 9, Faster Cash. And obviously not super. Yeah, right. This is a horse where you're talking about trust, where it's like, okay, well, you can't trust her to win races. But in this spot, why I like her is because Ricky Walcott gets back aboard after just being off for 1 start. But if you look back to her start 3 starts ago behind Magnific, she was really close to the pace and she ran well. And I predict that that will happen again here, where she will be close to the pace, if not setting the pace with Ricky Walker. And very binary code S where he could, ration out her speed. And this could be the race that Faster Cash will probably be some of the highest odds she's been in a minute, where I think she'll be loose on the lead, the 117, Ricky Walcott, who's going to be on the pace with her. I don't see anyone in here with speed. It's not that big of a field. So I think this might be the day for Faster Cash. And then I'll take number 1, Lioness Underneath with Antonio Bishop. This is another horse that's coming back. She ran second and then disappeared. Ran with some really good horses last time behind the same Legendary in the 55s and lower. This is a huge dropping class. Then I'll take number 4, North Point Bay, and number 10, Cotton Reel. The 3-year-olds who are getting better. North Point Bay ran a really improved third last time up behind Bossy Lady, and then Cotton Reel making the return.
Yeah, I'm now realizing that basically our horses are similar, minus my number 7, my 4th line in Elevate. Elevate, I feel the same way you feel about Lioness, but Elevate has been missing for about 126 days, and I couldn't tell you what went wrong with this one. I've realized this one has changed hands a couple times as it relates to owner and trainer connections, but I think the good Elevate, or the Elevate we remember, is good enough to run 4th in this, and I think that's a bit self-explanatory.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that one goes. She's had good form early in her career. She's since changed hands and run a lot since then. I'm not sure how the recency with North Point Bay, she would be able to edge him out. But we'll see how that one edge her out. But we'll see how that one goes in race number 3.
Signing up for BTC bets is very easy. Go to barbadosturfclub.org. Scroll down to start betting. Click sign up for a free account and fill out the form. Check your email for the verification code and enter it. Create a personal password and PIN, and you're all set to start betting.
So we're going to move on to race number 4. It's the Bridgetown Market Handicap. It's for the 90s and lords going 1,570 meters. And it marks the first time that Mystic Adventure is going to get to go a route of ground.
Yeah, and I mean, it's all about him, and deservedly so. Mr. Adventure's debut was impressive. For him to have a setback, be off for months, and then come back and return in such fashion is quite impressive, in my opinion. And I don't think there's anything that he has shown that gives me any kind of doubt that he's not going to be able to route. I think this horse has finished strong and leaps and bounds ahead of others, that routing is not going to be a problem for him.
I have to agree. And obviously, because of what Mystic Adventure did in his maiden breaking win when he stepped up to a route of ground, Mystic Rain did in his maiden breaking win to do that. And then now Mystic Adventure getting some of the same dynamics, but with wins under his belt, they're going to bet Mystic Adventure off the board. And at 113 pounds with Ricky Walker, after those 2 impressive wins, as you mentioned, it seemed like a foregone conclusion the minute they drew the race. So it's really who you're going to find underneath him. You're going to go with Valiant, and I don't see that happening here. So you're going to have to convince me.
Well, before we were wondering if Valiant wants to see anything longer than 7.8, and I'm still of the opinion that that's his strongest distance. At 118 pounds, I think he's hard to ignore. He has the apprentice. I'm sorry, Aaron Down is not even an apprentice anymore. I didn't even notice that. But at 118 pounds, considering the rest of the field, I still think he's one of the stronger horses. On my third line, number 4, Princess Aruna, I can interchange her and Valiant any day, but because of the weight difference from 127, 128, sorry. Yes, she does take the apprentice claim and take 7 pounds off, but I still don't think she is that much better than Valiant. And she's been a little bit unimpressive recently. Yes, she does have a 3rd and 2/4 in her last 3 starts, but it's still not the Princess Aruna that I am accustomed to seeing.
For me, I have Princess Aruna on my third line. This could easily have been a win candidate if Mr. Adventure was not in here. I think the issue with Princess Aruna and why she would be forgotten is that she's been playing games that she does not want to play. Her last 2 starts have been at 1,100 meters, and she's been giving away so much weight. She took 130 and 127 on another occasion. Now she's coming here and getting a claim of 7 pounds down to 121, going out to 1,570 meters. The last time she went 1,570 meters, it was behind Mystic Rain in a 4-horse field where there was no pace to come back. Now there's pace in this race. So I think, and it's not that she's been running poorly. She almost caught Lovely for second behind Mystic Rain. So I think that Princess Aruna is a horse that is going to be forgotten, but will get pace here and will run well. With Valiant, my issue is because of that pace. I don't see him getting comfortable on the lead, and he's yet to prove that if he doesn't get those dynamics, he's going to run well. I have a question mark with Zeba, and that's not staying. It's just the dynamic she's going to get with the 106 pounds is very attractive. But Mystic Adventure took it to her last time out, and she did not even hold second. So now that she's also stretching out, is she going to get to the lead? If she does, is it going to be comfortable? If it is, she'll be dangerous, and I would elevate her. But if Valiant and Mystic Adventure here, I think the only one who's going to survive a pace scrimmage from the 3 of them will be Mystic Adventure. So I downgrade Valiant completely out of the super. I put Zeba on my 4th line. Now, the horse that I have that you don't is number 7, Lovely. And this is a shock to me because I think when we talk about horses you can trust, Lovely is that and then some. In her last 8 starts, she's got 2 wins. And then she's got 5 seconds and a third. That's a horse that just runs no matter what you ask her to do. I think that this is the next best one in this field. She gets a good claim to 122. So to have her nowhere for a horse like Valiant, who just got ran down by Showtime and Priceless, I think is a bit of a jab to Lovely.
Well, just as you would have mentioned, I don't think anyone is going to question that freak on the early pace, meaning Mystic Adventure. I don't see Ziba at all. I don't think the dynamics are going to suit her one bit. Maybe if we were sprinting, I may have given her half of a look, but I don't see it going 7.8.
Well,
Sure.
before you move on, I just want, because obviously people are going to question whether or not she can stay. She's by Warville, who's a Warfront son, and then the dam side is Tappet. So, yeah, she's not gone it yet, and she's run a lot of races that show that maybe she's just fast, fast, fast. But I think the pedigree is there to get her run.
Unfortunately, pedigree doesn't run, pedigree sells. So it's still for her to prove that she is able to do so. On my fourth line, I went with Showtime, who, in my opinion, was just a bastard the rest. Renee is nowhere to ever be found. Prices, I think, is a bit outclassed. So is Capricat, who's been off for quite a while. And I think the only other horse there is Lovely. Now, I do admit, Lovely, I overlooked quite some, but I don't know. Maybe it's personal preference that Lovely just doesn't fall on my board. But Mr.
That's okay.
Adventure, sorry?
No, just saying that's okay. That's how it usually goes.
Okay, but my first four: Mystic Adventure, Valiant, Princess Aruna, and Showtime.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to race number 5. It's the Lady Miriam handicap. It goes 1100 meters for the 140s and lower, and this is our first of the 2 rescheduled races. And we lose Deccan Prince, and we get some others. And this is going to be again a rematch of the spa sprint with the 2 from the inside, Miss Anya and Anissa, who's drawn on the rail. Miss Anya gets closest to the rail. This could change the dynamic from how we handicapped it last time.
Somewhat, but I'm especially with the new faces in this race, I'm still sticking with Anissa as my winner. You look back at the spa, I would have mentioned this before. I think the what decided the spa was the amount of work Anissa had to do to get across from the 12 over to the 2 path, whereas Miss Anya had sweet sailing from beginning to end. Now we flip the script. Miss Anya's not in the 12, admittedly. She is in the 2 path, but she's been missing for quite some time, as has Anissa. But I think the mere fact that Anissa now has the inside run on her, she's going to take some catching to beat. Now, who I do have to catch her, or who is likely to catch her, is actually So Suave, who I figure a lot of people are going to overlook. So Suave has had a brilliant career sprinting. Mind you, it's only been 1 or 2 starts, but he has been absolutely flawless coming to the lane late.
Well, I have So Swab on top. You have War beat in there. You think Miss Anya is gonna be off. And just on the 1 and 2, really quickly. Obviously, first thing to note that Jarrell Beckles and Ricky Walcott seemingly just switched mounts. When this first was first declared, Jarrell Beckles was on Anissa and Ricky Walcott was on Miss Anya. Now they've switched. And out of the spa sprint, I want Anissa. Yeah, and I want Anissa. I respect Miss Anya. I have her on my third line. I think these 2 will speed out. I would hope that Ricky Walcott will hold the rails from Miss Anya, and we'll see how that plays out. But I will take number 6, So Suave. This is the horse that I was very ready to pick in the spa sprint. And the connections made the decision to go into the Gold Cup, which was definitely more idealistic than realistic. And I think that this is a horse that would have eased, well, I don't want to say easily, but would have definitely been a big contender in the spot sprint. When you look at the race where he made his return off almost 2 complete years from 2024, this was his first start in February of 2026, and he sprinted, and he was just missing behind Major Dan, who he gave 15 pounds to, and he beat Miss Anya and gave her 11 pounds. Miss Anya came out of this race and became the spot sprint winner. So now that he's back to a trip that and a company that is more his liking, I think So Suave here with the claim with Muhammad down to 121, getting him closer to the weight that Anissa and Miss Anya are at. He's very dangerous with the speed as well. Zazie has to be in here to help So Suave because I don't think Zazie's going to sit outside of Anissa and Miss Anya and win. Zazie has to be in here to make them uncomfortable and benefit So Suave. So I really like So Suave in this spot. He definitely will be some value because the spa winner returns. Anissa's Anissa. Bulldoze is one of the best horses at the Garrison. So hopefully you can get some value here with So Suave. I'm going to go Anissa over Miss Anya. Just think those 2 will be gone from the inside. They won't make each other uncomfortable enough that they can't be second and third.
And so we move on to the other feature of the day, the Midsummer Creole Classic. Going 9 furlongs, and this is a race that we've been looking forward to quite some time, and hopefully we're finally going to see it run.
No, this one is exciting as well. Another reschedule race. I'm not going to change much from how we talked about it last time. I don't. The big question for me was who would benefit the most from getting 2 extra weeks. I don't think that's any answer that swayed me in any way. I think Flying Jenny really has benefited from it because there have been some rumblings about what happened in the Guineas, and giving her time to heal and get over that, I think Flying Jenny is the horse to beat. She picks up Antonio Bishop. She got into so much trouble in the Guineas when they were starting to move forward. She got checked back, and Ultrasound was able to put a length and some on her, and she re-rallied. And everyone's probably saying she had every chance to get Ultrasound, but with 2.5 furlongs to go and the momentum where everybody's starting to ask for their best, you get checked backwards. And it's not like Ultrasound is some slouch. She's a really good horse. So I thought Flying Jenny ran huge, and I would hope that we remember the type of filly she was. And I think stretching out is not going to be any issue whatsoever for her.
Yeah, absolutely agreed, Rashaun. A lot of people pointed fingers at Ricky Walcott saying he gave her too much to do. But if you ask me, my humble opinion, she had a brilliant trip right up to about 3 furlongs to go. When the jockey on Relentless switched out and hampered her, I think that's where it all went sour. I don't think the jockey was to blame whatsoever. But for her to come to get through an issue like that, for her to be knocked out of stride, knocked out, probably lost about 4 to 5 lengths, and then still had to run around the field to catch back the eventual winner Ultrasound, and probably want to get beat by what, 3/4 of a length to a length. I think
Yeah.
that took a lot of heart from any
I,
horse.
I think the head-on shot does not do it justice. It wasn't quite 4 to 5 lengths, but she did lose a significant amount of ground, and at that point, you never want to lose any. Go to the live stream and watch the pan view because you will see. Because we watched it together on the roof, so we can see that view just naturally to the naked eye. But go watch the live stream where you can see her lose a considerable amount of ground. But we're beating that drum home because we really believe in this filly, and I think that Flying Jenny is still the best hero that we have, and you agree as well. It's then who do we find underneath?
Yeah, exactly. I think the cleanest trip won the Guineas, but Lord knows what's going to happen in the Midsummer. Now, I don't think Ultrasound winning the Guineas was any fluke whatsoever. I still think it took a brilliant horse to win a race like that. And I think he's at least good enough to finish second or even knock off Flying Jenny from the win. I think whoever stays the best wins. But if I'm talking about horses that can stay, a horse that really catches my eye is actually on my fourth line, and this is undeniable. Undeniable, I think, has had a not necessarily a hard career, but I think as they go longer, he is going to be one to watch. On my third line, I went with Pavlova, who was missing from the Guineas, now makes a return for the Midsummer. And I think this is a name that is hard not to call in the first three of this race.
So Pavlova is my second choice. A way to alley-oop that so that I can just jump in on that. I think this is a very dangerous filly. Obviously, it's a tall ask to come off of a sprint prep to run into the Midsummer, the best thrills that we have. But she's a physically impressive filly. She has a really good pedigree. Her mom beat the Guineas winner in 2014 in the Breeders' Stakes at 7 furlongs. She's drawn on the inside. She's drawn well. And again, if conditions are going to be favorable, she can take this Midsummer Field a very long way, I feel like. I liked her in the Guineas. She scratched. She came back. I liked her in her last race when she sprinted. She won that. Obviously, I think this is going to be a really good horse, and the Midsummer might run through her because she could lead, and she could lead a long way. Then I'll take number 4, Ultrasound, the Guineas winner. It's not that I don't think he's good, but I missed out on the Guineas. I'm not just going to run to pick the Guineas winner in their spot. If he wins the Midsummer, it still might be a little bit of a surprise because of how I have Flying Jenny highly regarded, but then it, makes me respect him a little bit more going forward. But I do recognize that this is one of the best 3-year-olds because I liked him early in the year in the hopeful that Ataro won, and he was nowhere. And then he also, he was nowhere. So I feel like this is a horse that has had a lot of talent, a really good 2-year-old, and he falls on my third line, the Guineas winner. And then number 8, Undeniable. Like you, I think the further they go, this son of Infrared will get better. He's from a really good female family. Not an overly impressive sort, and his Guineas was just midline. But again, he was finishing the race. There's not many others in here that you love, and he falls on my fourth line like you. We have the same superfecta, just a very small tweak there with our second and third, but we both agree it's Flying Jenny in the Midsummer for 2026.
Let's start betting. Go to BarbadosTurfClub.org. Click betting and select mobile wagering information. To the left, click Start Betting. Enter your account and PIN to log in. Select Event. Then select the race followed by your bet type. And choose your bet amount. Select your horse or horses. When finished, click Bet, verify, and click Accept, and you're ready to win.
So we move on to race number 7. It's the Pickety Crop Handicap. This one goes 1570 for the 40s and lower. It's the high 5 race on the card. Go 11 declared for this race. And even though there's a deep field, I think there's going to be a heavy favorite in this race in number 10, Show Me the Milk, off her last couple.
It's interesting you say that, and you have the horse to run 5th.
No, I have a reason. I was just setting it up for you to tell me what you have her, but I definitely am going against her in this spot.
Fair enough. We're all entitled to our own opinions. Now, this race is going 7.8 for horses going 40 and lower. And guess what? Guess who's rated 40 at the top of the spectrum? Said Show Me the Milk. Now, looking through this race, looking through the depth of this race at least, sprint speed and staying speed are two different things. So I'm not even looking Thunder Way's lady. Oh my goodness. I'm not even looking Thunder Lady's way. But I do expect her to be knocking around somewhere at the front. Now, considering Show Me the Milk's consistency, at least at 7.8 and 9 furlongs, this horse has ran outside of the first 3 once within her last almost 7 starts, bar the 6th position that she would have ran sprinting. I mean, look at her going 9 furlongs with 45s, 55s, 50s. This is her class. And compared to what she's been running with recently, this is technically a step down. I see absolutely nothing in this horse's way of getting home.
So for me, I think there's a couple of things where I'm going against her. First off, you kind of alluded to it with the pace dynamic, with the presence of Thunder Lady, who in a route, what stops Thunder Lady from going to the lead? And then Northern Lady also is a horse who picks and chooses when she wants to show speed, but I also think she'll be a part of the pace with Devontae Abraham, as well as Dorcas for her new connection. She's shown speed for them, and now stretching out probably might do the same. So I think Show Me the Milk will have some company here where she usually is more comfortable and more victorious when she's allowed to just amble on the lead by herself. And I don't see that from the 9 hole in this spot. And then, as you said, she's at the top of the class here, rated 40 in this 40 and lower. 127 pounds. I want no part of that because of the horses I think she has to beat in this spot and then the weight she has to give away. I go 12-4-1. I am sit at 117, then Northern Lady at 16 and Rare Nickel also at 17. I just don't see her giving 10 and 11 pounds away to these horses who will get a good pace setup and being victorious. So I'm going to go with horse number 12, I Am Sid, who his 2 races this year haven't necessarily been great. But I think that is partial to the fact that he's been running with 50s and lowers and 65 and lowers. So you go 3 starts back to his last win, his last race in 2025 at 1,800 meters, a trip that I think is what hits him between the eyes, but also a mile is good for him. And if you look at his races coming on to the end of last year, you've got a win, a 4th, 2 fourths, a second, and a 3rd. This is a horse that's in form, stepped up in class and got beat. Drops back in class to the 40s and lowers at 117 pounds with Bellamy on board and a good pace setup. I'm going to take all of I'm sitting in this spot. Then I'll go for Rare Nickel, who's probably more known for her sprint affinity, but she's got some good ability going 7.8. If you watch her last 7.8, it was on just 1 second. Her last 7.8 was 17th of January, 2026. If you watch that race, a lot of trouble. She sprinted since then and she's run really well off the board only twice in her 5 sprints since the last 7.8. This is a horse that will run really well with this claim as well. And then I'll go on my 3rd line, number 1, Northern Lady. Runs white with Rare Nickel, gets into some trouble, and I'll go her. You have Rare Nickel in there as well. And then another horse you have is horse number 5, Caribbean Kid, and I just think a little cut below these 40s, but will run really well with the claim and start 114 pounds. And then I'll put Show Me the Milk just because I respect her in this class, but I don't see giving that weight away and the presence of the other pace, her being a big factor in this spot.
Fair enough, and so be it. I don't necessarily have a question about the weight. I think she and I'm Sid are just that a little bit above the others. I'm Sid, who has been absolutely nowhere in his last couple starts. But, you have to pick back
up in class.
Yeah. And you got to pick back up on your form somewhere. It has to start somewhere. And I think it can start with this field, but fifth is the highest I'm putting him. Caribbean Kitten, Rare Nickel. You come back down to Rush. And Rush, 125 pounds with the 7 pound claim. Rush has been one that's been falling under the radar for quite some time. I guess this is not a horse that catches everyone's eye, but has been doing a pretty good job recently.
I toyed with putting Rush on my fifth lane. Love the claim, love the trip he's going to get. He's in good company. I just thought it would have been too aggressive of a move to completely fade Show Me the Milk out of my top five, which will be a very well paid high five if she could be off the board completely. But Rush is definitely a horse that I wouldn't have to say that you have to give me much convincing about. So I think that's a really good choice there.
Yeah, I do agree. I didn't feel much about Prominent or Northern Lady. Detente, I'm pretty confident with my high five in that being 10, 5, 4, 11, and 12. So we move on to the Crop Over Festival handicap, 5.5. Again, a sprint for the better sprinters in Barbados. This time we're going for the 110 to 85. And as much as we thought Soleil Levant wasn't, or maybe is better going longer, I'm noticing that you've fallen back on this one as your winner.
Yeah, so I'm gonna take Soleil on this spot, and this is definitely, as I said earlier, this I think this one is more idealistic than realistic because we can see going forward, Etta James is going to be known for her sprint ability, and Soleil Levant being by blame out of a Warfront mirror, more than likely will want to go longer. I'm just going to take her with Ricky Walker getting on board and she being drawn on the outside of Etta James. So these two last race on the 20th of June, and Soleil Levant was hustled from the inside by Beckles. And I don't blame it for doing this because the last time Etta James beat Soleil Levant, she was able to get away from Soleil Levant. And then the very next start, Rashid Hughes took the lead on the inside of Etta James and took it to her. So doing that in this spot, it was the recipe that worked before. But then you watching Edit Soleil Levant rather, she was hustled the entire way. She was in chase mode. She was never comfortable. You saw her tail twitching. She just ears pinned. She was just spinning her wheels. And Etta James was a lot more comfortable than she was. So I think now Soleil Levant is probably getting older, more mature. She doesn't want to be hustled in that way. And again, this is very idealistic. This could just be that Etta James is getting better. But Etta James just comfortably ran away from her around 105 in a race that this was still early on the card, but it was still some rain on that had just fallen. So I think now drawn on the outside, she gets to relax a little bit more rather than being the hunted. She would be the hunter, and she can sit on the outside of Etta James. I love the weight of 107 pounds. I'm going to take Ricky Walker over Aaron Daniels. So I just think things are in the favor of Soleil Levant to bounce back from that defeat. But if Etta James is to beat her in this spot, it just lets me know Etta James is doing so much better now at 1100 meters, and that's what you're going to have to respect going forward.
I think that's exactly it. And despite both horses being at 107 pounds, I feel pretty solidified in the fact that Soleil Levant, I beg your pardon, I think she's rathering something a bit longer, and Etta James is just showing her class and quality, and she's growing up. She's showing you in the face of adversity, she can still get it done.
But
You have
I
some.
just have, yeah, I just, because you're saying longer, and I just want to be clear, she beat Paper Trail, who you have. I just think this 3-year-old group at 107 pounds, who's going to, even if Etta James wins and Soleil Levant wants to go further, who's going to get Soleil Levant to be fourth or lower in this spot with everything she has?
Fair take, but 107 pounds for Etta James specifically right now. I think at that weight, that's a pop kite. There's good luck catching that. I think the other
Right.
fast horses in this race, for example, Major Dan, 128 pounds. Paper Trail, who's not
Well, he never
absolute.
does anything with top weight. Yeah, he's
Exactly.
never does anything.
Paper Trail does have 105 pounds. I don't think the jockey's going to be able to take off any, maybe even add to that 105 pounds. But as I've looked at him recently, I found his first start back from a layoff is not the most impressive. And then his second start, he's always bang on. So I think this is a so size, so done situation right now. He's a horse that has had his troubles. So I have him on my third line. But a horse that I think you could put 150 pounds on this horse. This horse gives his all, and that's dancing perspective. No matter where you put
Yeah.
him, no matter what distance, no matter what going, this horse finds a way to place. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Soleil Levant finds a way to sneak into this top three, but it's hard for me to look at this race and not have dancing prospectus somewhere there.
Well, my issue is not with Dancing Prospector. You're correct. I think she runs no matter what. Glass, wet, dry, sand, dirt,
Yeah.
grass. Yeah, this is a real iron horse, and he will run with the 130. But it's just, I think Paper Trail got 9 pounds from Soleil Levant on his return. Granted, as you're saying, second off the bench, he might be better. But I just think that from a quality perspective, from what we've seen from Soleil Levant, I just don't see her outside of the top three, even if she is to lose this spot. But that's what's going to make this one very interesting because you could go many ways. I think it's 7 and 8, regardless of what order you want it in. But we'll see how the Crop Over Festival shakes out because it's going to be a quick one. And then we move on to the final race on the card. It's race number 9. It's the ceremonial delivery of the Last Kings handicap, 1100 meters for the 60s and lower. And it marks the return of Fantastic Justice.
Rashaun, I think you think the same thing that I am, and I think Fantastic Justice is leaps and bounds ahead of these.
No.
Despite being off, despite maybe being injured or whatever the case may have been, I think if this horse is 75% of what we know him to be, this horse is an easy winner.
Yeah, you look back to his last start. I think he was very impressive. I took note when he broke his maiden with 128 pounds after running nothing in his first 3 starts. He's run some really good races since then, a second and a third to in between his bookended wins. This is a good horse. He comes back here with Lopez. The 130 doesn't bother me. I think he's good
Not
from
at
the
all.
inside. He's also faced Marvel before. I just think that no one, the pace doesn't bother me. The horses that he's supposed to beat, he's conquered already. And it's really Fantastic Justice. We agree on the first four. We just have it in a different order. I just think Simmer Down has shown not to necessarily want to engage with these kind of horses. You see her here finishing fourth behind Fantastic Justice. I'm going to take Let It Be Me on my second line. She's rounded into some really good form. 2 wins in her last 4 start with a second. I think with the pace of Simmer Down, Fantastic Justice, maybe Leah Marvel, she'll be one to come late. Then I'll take number 9, How You Do. I implore you to watch his last start behind Let It Be Me on the 20th of June, where he came from an impossible draw, and I thought ran huge. The rain was actively pouring on the track. It was the last race he ran before we called him off. And he came from a wide draw, ran up into contention, 3 wide the entire way, and faltered late. I think with a better trip now, he would be one you could keep an eye out for. I just think he's always been behind Fantastic Justice. I don't think he's ready to make up that ground just yet.
Mhm.
And then number 1, Simmer Down, who might just be best of the rest. Again, I don't think when she gets her things her own way, she's dangerous, but I don't think she's going to get that in this spot. And I'm going to put her on my fourth line. Again, not a case I'm trying to convince you of anyone. We have the same 4.
Yeah, same for different order. Fantastic Justice being head and shoulders above the rest, at least in our opinions. Second line, Let It Be Me, who you'd have mentioned has 2 wins in her last few starts. A 5 pound claim would do nice for her. It's not soft, so it's not an open and shut case like before, but I still think she has the class to get her to at least second place. Simmer Down, who maybe if you show me this race about 8 months ago, I say be a really headstrong horse and may not finish strong. I think this horse has matured and has learned that you don't need the lead and has been able to run back at others late on in the race. I think that's exactly what's going to need to be done. And then How You Do, I didn't even know you noticed the issues last race day with this one, and I think it's a little bit in the deep end for this one. I think maybe a 50
He's
and
getting
lower.
better.
Yeah, but a 50 and lower may have suited him better, but you can only take what's given on the day. But he is getting
Right.
better with every start. He's going to get there eventually. I like to see the return of Marvel. That's speed to burn, 252 days off. Mentioning that, Fantastic Justice off 175 days. Rashaun, this horse has not ran on the improved track. I'd love to see what time he does Saturday.
No, exactly. We've been getting really good trying times rather from our horses recently. The track is in really good condition, and that's the testament to the people that are taking care of it. And also, it was proven last race day when we had torrential downpours and everyone was still willing to ride. Horses
Didn't
came
have
back safe,
any problems, any
no
fault.
issues whatsoever,
Everyone loved
and exactly. And we are able to race just what 22 days later. So I love how we're handling the track and its intricacies because it's something that I can't do, but I'm glad to see the results that we're getting. And it's gonna be interesting to see, as you mentioned, what Fantastic Justice can do over it. But that brings us to the end of our preview show for the Midsummer Creole Classic Race Day and the Crop Over Festival Race Day. It's a 9 race card. It's going to be a very, very thrilling race day. And we'll see who's going to win the second leg of the Triple Crown. As always, thank you so much for watching Pillar to Post. Please subscribe to our YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and our X. Good luck, and as always, may all your tickets be winning ones.
Thank you guys, and all the best.